Hey all, welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be taking a little bit of a trip in time, sorta, kinda, when we look at something new, homaging something old. Very old by way of the Legacy Evolution, Buzzworthy, Bumblebee, Origins, Autobot, Jazz. This guy is going to be our focus this time around in the latest GotBot True review. Hey all, welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, your most humble of hosts, Dennis Moulton, aka GotBot. As always, man, please like, comment, share, of course, subscribe, and while you're at it, light on my baby. Hit that notification bell, please. It helps me out a ton, and it lets you know when content of all sorts goes up here on the channel. Check out Machinery of Man, The Everything Factor, all the groups that I'm either a mod or an admin for, as well as all of my social media links, all of that in the description down below. Also in the description down below, and if you right there are in a position to help the channel to grow, you can use the donate link. Check us out on Patreon, see what we have to offer to you through spring, or of course hit the join button at any given time and become a channel member. And this is Origins Jazz. I was shocked when this guy got announced. I thought that the Bumblebee was going to be a one-off. I thought it was a one and done type of thing, but now that we've got Jazz, I'm just saying what else might be around the corner. How good is this? Does it really do justice to that scene from the very beginning of Transformers, from the very start of the series, when we see Jazz in that Cybertronian hover car, I guess, mode, before he transforms to the recognizable robot that we all know and love? How well does this do at homaging that? Or we are about to find out together when we head over to the table and take a closer look at this guy. And yes, indeed, thanks to our buddy Ultra Megatronus, we're taking a look today at the Transformers Legacy Evolution Buzzworthy Bumblebee Origins Autobot Jazz. Yeah, it's a mouthful. This, of course, harkens back to Jazz the way he appeared in the very first pilot episode, More Than Meets the Eye, Part 1, at the very beginning on Cybertron of G1, way back in 1984. But of course, before we look at him, we have to look at that packaging first. And our boy kind of comes in what you would sort of expect from Buzzworthy packaging. A lot of yellow, of course. I'll note that there were no ties of any sort keeping him in package. He was really sort of slotted into the cardboard, but there were no ties keeping him in package. Very, very peculiar. We see him here in his alt mode. Over here, a whole bunch of evergreen Cyberverse looking artwork. Over here we have what looks like what would have been Legacy Jazz artwork. And on the back, of course, we have both of his alt modes, and you can see his Evo Fusion, which I'll talk about in just a second. Just a very quick note first about the instructions. They're actually fairly straightforward, fairly easy to follow, but I will say this. There's a couple of steps where I think to myself, I think you should probably do that earlier. For example, on the back, the last thing they kind of tell you to do is close the door. I would advise doing that earlier, because otherwise you're trying to flex plastic to kind of get tabs to fit in. But that's just me, you do you. He comes with this all-black version of his traditional Jazz blaster. It'd be nice if it was silver, but I understand why it's black. Largely because of this peg right here on the side, which is used to kind of slot this in on his back. If you had paint on there, you're probably only going to scrape it off anyway. He also comes with his grappling hook. Now, there's no like string line attaching it, but it is his grappling hook, and it does split. Why? So that you can do this. Evo Fusion spear, harpoon, grappling hook, blaster, I guess. I don't know. I mean, the blaster can take a blast effect, and it can also take this. What the point of this is supposed to be, I don't know. But you can put it on his back if you're so inclined. Oh, and by the way, you can actually leave the entire grappling hook together, and the other piece also can go on here for a bigger Evo Fusion, I guess. And that's how it can fit on his back. Of course, this is a back view of Jazz, but we're going to kick things off really like this. With Jazz next to Jazz. And naturally, this is the Studio Series 86. It is the Earth mode. It has some Toy Hack stickers applied to it. We're going to talk about his first score, which is going to be his coloration. But I'm going to note this right now. Would you believe, because I feel like this guy looks bigger, would you believe that the Buzzworthy one has significantly more mass than the Studio Series 86? The Studio Series 86 clocks in at 72 grams. It's one of those rather smaller deluxes. Now, I don't have his blaster in his hand, but I think even with that, it clocks in somewhere around 75 or so grams. So it's not the biggest jazz by any stretch of the imagination, and a lot of people were really put off by the clear plastic roof. This guy also has a fair amount of clear plastic, but he clocks in at 87 grams of plastic. So right away, the Buzzworthy one is giving me the traditional mass of a deluxe, and then some. The Buzzworthy one, the Origins one, whatever you want to call it, also has significant amount of paint. Let's give a score for that and kind of talk about the paint as we start from the feet and work our way up. So, the feet are kind of two-tone gray with a darker gray in here, which is accurate. The shins are also gray. Whether we use gray or silver, I think that's fine. My shins, unfortunately, had 3 nicks in them that it almost, I don't know if it was the way the paint cured. I don't know if it's an attempt at a fix or what, but my shins have 3 nicks that almost look like they've been, I don't know, like painted over, I guess. Maybe it's just the plastic is a little scraped, I don't know. I also have a red nick on the red bumper underneath. You can't really see it here, but underneath. So a couple of nicks, but nevertheless, it's worth noting that you can go gray or silver. The black is fine, the white thighs, they're fine. You'll notice on the pelvis, the Origins one does not have the blue highlights. Again, by rights he should, but I'll let it pass. It's a Cybertronian mode. Maybe he didn't have the blue highlights then. The torso, or tummy I should say, being gray or silver. Again, this one is silver, the Origins one is gray. I'm okay with either, really. The black hands, the white forearms, the black like shoulders and biceps, all correct. The white hood with the blue in the center and the Autobot symbol. Now, by rights, this one was more of a solid blue like the Origins. But again, I've applied some Toy Hack stickers to it. I think they're both fine. I'll note that the chest piece of the Origins is all clear plastic. Well, not even clear. It's blue translucent plastic that's been painted, but it does feel robust, so I don't think it's going to break. When it comes to the head, some people debated if the head is the same. They are not. They are 2 different sculpts. Even the shape of the eyes and the face is different, and the depth of the head is different. I think I like the light blue eyes a little bit better, but you know what? Honestly, I have no problem with the darker blue eyes. It's fine. I don't have any issue with it. If this one was like a 9.5, then I think the Origins one is a 9. Like, it's almost perfect. The only things that I could really kind of argue for would be the blue on the hips, like this blue highlight here, and maybe if I didn't have my nicks, and maybe if there were a couple of lines here on this blue on his chest. That's about it. In terms of depth, he's a little bit thicker, I think, than the 86, but you know, nothing major. From the back, I don't usually show this stuff, but why not, since we're here with both of them. And of course we can turn the guy right back around. So yeah, that's jazz to jazz. I'm kind of glad to have both of them, but really the comparison that I wanted to make was next to Bumblebee. Bumblebee was definitely a smaller deluxe, much smaller than Jazz. Bumblebee also has some hollowness in the forearms and on the legs. The only piece of hollowness on Jazz is the forearms. That's it. And that probably helps his mass. Now that we have these two, come on, it has to be a foregone conclusion that we're going to at some point get Wheeljack, right? To kind of round out those Autobots that we saw in that episode in their Cybertronian modes. As for the Decepticons, well, we've already had Soundwave that can do the lamppost mode. We've already had the Tetrajets. So, like, that side's kind of covered. So we even had Laserbeak with his, like, Cybertronian face, visor, I guess we'll say. So, like, I feel like we're pretty much covered for that scene at the beginning of Transformers, other than having Wheeljack. And there was a time that I would have said, man, I don't see it happening, but I'm starting to think it might happen. So with a 9 to start us off for his coloration and his paint apps and whatnot, it's a good start. Let's do the articulation next. So, when it comes to the articulation, the head goes left, right, little bit up, little bit down. The arms can go all the way around, all the way out. For sure we have 90 degrees, maybe slightly more than 90 degrees, maybe 91. We have a slight butterfly. We have a bicep, if I didn't say that. We don't have a wrist. So that's a slight bummer, but at least we got the mass and the paint to kind of help us there. The chest really does nothing. The waist, free-flowing, can go all the way around. Hips all the way forward. Hips all the way back. Thigh swivel. A lot of people say 90 degrees at the knee. It's not, man. It's not 90 degrees at the knee. Like, you can see right there, it's not 90 degrees. It's, I don't know, 80 maybe? But I don't think that there's a way really that that could have been helped. With the way the engineering is done, I don't think there's a way that could have been helped. Ankle tilt. And really full splits out to the side. So, the gripes, so to speak, in terms of articulation, not many. And you can score most of the poses that you're going to want. Slightly deeper knee and wrist would be nice. So I'm going to say 8.5. So a 9 and an 8.5. This guy's an 8.75. Let's do the transformation, which is interesting but intuitive at the same time. So at an 8.75, we begin by picking up the backpack. We can fold in the hands and we can turn the head around, though not everybody does that. I do, because the instructions say to do so, but not everyone does. You can see in here the translucent blue, but man, it's a robust blue. Same back here, all of like this upper section is all translucent blue as well. Right? The whole thing here. But it's a robust, like it feels like the wings of Kickback. It's a robust translucent. So I think I'm okay with it. Bring that up over and bring this up over. It kind of pushes in the shoulders and bring that down. You'll hear that it sort of snaps in there. Right? When it comes to the arms, you want to have the hands facing out to the side because we have a couple of little slots here that'll go over by rights, tabs on the knee. I don't find that they always line up very well. And we have a slot here on the arm that's supposed to go into a little tab on one of the doors. Not up here, on one of the doors. But again, by the time you squeeze everything together, some of that might be tabbed in, some of it won't, but it's solid. So I'm not going to worry too much about it. We're going to fold in the feet. You'll notice on the top of the feet, we also have 5mm ports. That's for compatibility with blast effects. So that's a nice feature. We're going to, I guess, we'll bring this down now too. And this just sort of like fits. You got to finesse it in on the sides here. It's a little unnerving to do. We're also going to use these two tabs to kind of go up under the, I guess, leg sections, so to speak, when we collapse all this. Speaking of collapsing all this, we're going to open a shin. We're going to bring out a door. And the whole thing really just Combiner Wars up is all that's really going to do. And then this will come down. A lot of people, I showed that because a lot of people will say, open it, take out the door, close it, and then collapse both legs. They're not on sliders, they Combiner Wars in. Just thought it was something that people should know. We're going to bring this out, and oh, same thing, I got to Combiner Wars this up, bring it down. Then, we should be able to, oh, I don't think I Combiner Wars that up enough, did I? I think I did. No, I didn't. There, now I did. We're going to put these two back legs together. Like this. Now, the way the instructions tell you to do it is kind of close all this in and then close these in last. But you have like kind of a couple of tabs here, a tab here. Like they need to sort of tooth and notch in. So I find that you almost need to have the doors closed first and then push everything in. But that's just me. Maybe you've had better luck following the exact instructions than I have. That's beyond possible. As a matter of fact, I tend to leave the arms here down until I get all of this sort of solidified in. In, all in. Bring these up and push them in. Push that in. You just heard them click actually into place. I have to solidify a few of the tabs and whatnot here and put the blaster in the top. But basically, boom, in the end here we have him in his vehicle mode. You'll notice that we have a white mismatch of the paint and the plastic. But it doesn't make me angry. He was getting an 8.75, and I enjoyed the transformation. I think that the transformation is going to score, honestly, about an 8.75, maybe even a 9. I'm going to say that Jazz overall, the Origins Jazz overall, is a 9. It's a great Jazz. And yes, indeed, here we have Earth Mode Porsche Jazz, as well as the Cybertronian Jazz. And the Cybertronian Jazz is pretty darn close. Yes, it doesn't have as much going on or look as visually interesting as this guy. However, to be fair, again, as a reminder, this guy has a number of Toy Hacks labels on him. One of these has really started to peel, though. I had to cut part of it off. It was sad times. I digress. This pretty much looks like the way he should. The only real deviation is that in vehicle mode, I would argue that the hood should be longer and that these side windows should be perfect triangles. Like the whole section here is shorter, but like that's just a matter of, I don't even want to say tolerances, that's just a slight design cue change. I think most people that don't bother to like nitpick the scene where he's driving across Cybertron won't notice it. I think most people would look at this and just say, hey, that's the Cybertronian Jazz from that very first episode. I know I certainly did until I went back and specifically looked at it to see that these are small, specific triangles. I'm not angry about this. I still think that his look is a solid 9. I think his overall representation is a 9. And the icing on the cake is this. I mean, come on, man. This is where the money is. This is that G1 first episode. This is the Bumblebee that we saw with the Energon rods. This is the Jazz that we saw go across and pass Soundwave, I think. Maybe it was Wheeljack who passed Soundwave. But I know that Jazz, you know, he went to the elevator, he goes up, he transforms, he talks to Optimus about how it's time to go and stuff, right? I mean, yeah, this is quintessentially what we probably never thought we were ever going to get. I know I certainly didn't. I feel like that the Jazz is stronger than the Bee, and I loved the Bee. So if you liked the Bee, I think the Jazz is even better. Make of that whatever you will. Overall score 9, and I couldn't really ask for more. Except maybe a wrist swivel. And here we are, and here he is, and he's great. He really is. A shame that I got a couple of paint notches, I guess down on the legs and up under here on the red, but it's not a deal breaker. I've heard a lot of people having some paint blotches and blemishes with the blue. My blue is fine, luckily. I guess the paint issues are probably the biggest thing to note here. That said, the look of the guy captures Jazz very nicely. Some people have said that they find the chest to be kind of small and squat next to the Studio Series 86. Maybe because it's a faux chest, but when I look at it in hand, it doesn't seem small to me. It just seems like Jazz. I'm glad that he doesn't have the door wings sticking off. You know me, I'm an animation accurate guy, so I'm not a huge fan of the door wings, even though the Reveal the Shield Jazz is still, by far, the absolute, hands-down best Jazz that there ever was. I digress. For Cybertronian Jazz, this is an absolute success. It looks like Jazz in robot mode. The transformation is interesting, mostly intuitive, and pretty much issue-free. It's pretty straightforward. And the articulation is mostly all there. About the only thing with the articulation, I don't know if I mentioned he has a waist. He does. No wrist. I mean, that's about it. I guess the whole knee thing that I mentioned, slightly less than 90 degrees. I still find, though, that I could get most of the poses that I want to get with the guy. I have to note them because it is lost articulation this day and age. But in this case, we have the mass that we've always had for a deluxe. We've got a ton of paint, the whole chest, on the face, on the whole top of the vehicle, on the shins, on the feet, back here with the blue. There's a ton of paint, wide articulation, and a clever transformation that's pretty intuitive. I mean, something had to give, I understand that. And in this case, what gave? The slight knee and the loss of the wrist. But that's it. We are getting here the value that a traditional deluxe always was, with more paint, with more engineering, with more. And I think it worked out very, very nicely. Absolute success if you ask me. Let me know what you think about Origins, Autobot Jazz. I appreciate you guys coming by, giving me some of your extremely valuable time. I do know how important it is to you. If you're in a position to help the channel to grow, you can use the donate link. Check us out on Patreon, see what we have to offer to you through spring, or of course hit the join button at any given time and become a channel member. Please don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Stick around, have some fun with us here on the channel, and especially don't forget that somehow, some way, each and every single solitary day, you right there, you do make a difference in the world, and I look forward to the next time that you and I get together to have another visit, either in the live streams on Thursday nights at the stop motion premieres, or the old fashioned way right here inside the videos.